I'm hoping somebody can go to shul and make a kaddish. So if someone,
The thing is this, I would love to do that, but the problem is that the shul around here are closed. What shul can I go to?
oh,
That's the big problem. That's a
right,
very big problem. And
right.
the closest shul from here is Aderet El, an
Ah,
Orthodox shul, but they don't have a minyan during the
on
day.
Shachris, they don't have on Thursday.
And I'll check again with the president of the shul, the big insurance guy. He calls me from time to time. I'll give him a call. He told me that if you have something that you absolutely need to say Kaddish or some problem like that, some issue like that, I will arrange for the shul to be open. You will have access to the Sefer Toires, but you have to bring your own minyan because.
That's the challenge.
So I'll have the shul open for you and full
Uh,
access to the Sefer Torah. Just bring the minyan. Tell me when.
yeah. Yeah. Well, not easy.
I'll figure when is it
Well,
that we need to
for
do this?
Mitzvah Shem on Wednesday we finish. So Thursday, if someone can make a kaddish, it's a lift for everybody. I would Baruch Hashem. My parents are alive.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable saying. My father once told me, "Don't say kaddish while you still didn't read the will."
Yeah.
So, so I don't say kaddish. But if
And I have to say Kaddish for my mom, 8th day of Tishrei, a couple of days before Yom Kippur. Horrible time for me. Horrible time.
Yeah.
So I'll figure it out. Give me a
Okay.
day or so. That's next week, correct?
This week. This week's Thursday.
This week, sir.
Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we are. Here's the Daf is Daf Nun Gimel, and here we are. This is just to remind you how the Beis Hamikdash looked, and very important picture of where the festivities of Simchas Beis HaShoeva took place. This is the Beis Hamikdash, as you can tell. This is the inner sanctuary, and this is the Ezra's Nashim. I'm just going to bring up one more picture over here, where you have a picture of this is where the Jews were standing. This is where the dancing was. This is where they would, perform acrobatic feats. And I'll just bring it a little bit closer over here. We said yesterday, and we threw out that there were 15 steps. There are 15 steps over here leading into this is Shar Niknor. And these are the 15 steps and corresponding to the Shir Hamalas. And we said yesterday, why did David HaMelech say Shir Hamalas? Because he pushed the water of the earth's core too deep into the earth, and the earth was going to dry out. So he had to bring it back up by saying Shir Hamalas. So these are the candelabras which we learned in the Mishnah. And basically, just to get it straight, so that when they would go to, here, let's just take an outer view, that when they would go out and celebrate to go fetch the water for the Nisach HaMayim, they did it very early in the morning. They would go from here all the way straight. That's called Shar Elyon, the upper door, down 15 steps, and then they would go out the eastern side. Remember yesterday that the Jews at that time described how it was in the first temple. In the first temple, the Jews would bend over with their behinds facing the sanctuary, and they would defecate. And so, but we're not that way. We don't serve idols, and we're anu l'kal and kenu l'kal. Then after they left, there was a whole procession. They went to the Mei Shaluach, which was a spring. If you study this, there are, and you go on nice tours in Jerusalem, you can see where the Mei Shaluach, where they think the Mei Shaluach was, a natural spring. They would fetch the water from there, and they would bring it right through the Beis Hamikdash through here. This is called the Shar Hamayim. Let's see if another picture of it. So I just wanted you to get it clear. Shar Hamayim, obviously, this is the Shar Hamayim. They would bring it through here, and then they would pour it onto the Mizbeach during the Karban Tamid. Okay, that was the Sukkah celebration of Simchas Beis Sheva. All right, let's start again the Mishnah. So just to review, the Mishnah says, "Ein poichasim me'esrim achas tekiyas b'migdash." Every day in the Beis Hamikdash, 2 Kohanim would blow no less than 21 tekiyos. Tekiyos means tekiya, trua, tekiya. That's, we blow shvarm trua, but really it's counted as one. Tekiya, trua, tekiya, and they blew it 21 sounds. every single day during a typical day. The in my sifin, you can have more. There was no day more that had more than 48 sounds. So the Mishnah explains, B'chol yom, every day in the base of Migdash, Hoyasham Esrim Achas Tekiyas B'Migdash. There was 21 blowings in the base of Migdash. And I want to point out, as we pointed out yesterday, it's not like you're blowing with a shofar. You're blowing with a trumpet, 2 silver trumpets, but they made the sounds of a shofar, which means they made the sounds of tekiah and trua and tekiah, but it came from a trumpet. So how do you get 21 every day? Shalosh lepsichas hasha'arim. 3, because they opened the doors. Every single day you had to open the door. Okay, let me just get it bigger. V'teisha l'tamid shel shachar. 9, they blew during the tamid shel shachar. Now, when they were pouring wine on the base on the mizbeach, right, they were singing the shir shel yom, the song of the day, right? And therefore that was broken down into 3 parts. And every time they took a break in the middle of the song, they would blow tkiya, trua, tkiya. So again, the Levium would sing the song. So you're familiar with this since after davening. Let's say today we said Shir Mizmor Levnei Korach, right? That Tehillim for Monday. So they broke that piece of Tehillim into 3 parts, and it was said in a very song way by the Levium, and they had a bunch of instruments playing along while they were singing. And then as they reached a break, and then you blow Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya, and then they continue on with the song. So there were 9, they did it 3 times. So 9 for the Tamid Shel Shachar, the Teisha Shel Tamid Shel Bayim, and 9 at the afternoon carbon Tamid. So 9 plus 9 is 18. 3 was just to open up all the gates of the temple. So 18 plus 3, every day you had 21. That's the Mishnah says, Uva Musafin, on a day of a Musaf day, Hoya Masifin Oi Teisha, they had another 9. Okay? They had another 9 because there was another Shir Shal Yom. Let's say on Shabbos, they added another 9. So therefore, 21 plus 9. So on a typical Shabbos, you had 30. So that was, now the Mishnah gives you the biggest amount, the day that they had the most sounds of in the base of English. Uve'er Shabbos, on Friday, Hoya Mesif and Sheish. On a typical Friday, they added an extra 6 blows. Now, this blow is different than the blowing that we talked about early in the Mishnah, because the earlier in the Mishnah is the Raisa blows. You have to blow when you're bringing the carbon, right? But here, it's an extra 6 blows on a Friday afternoon. Sholish l'haftias ha'amim melacha. They blew three sounds to tell the people, close your shop, stop working on Friday. With Sholosh, and an extra 3 when it was like candlelighting time, l'havdil ben kodesh l'choil, to tell people that now starts the Shabbos, and therefore, if you're going to do an Avera now, you get skila. That was on a typical Friday. So now leads up to the biggest day that you had the most blowings. Erev Shabbos Sheb'Soich Chag. Friday afternoon in Sukkot. Let's say it's Chalamoid Sukkot. So you have a typical day, plus it's Erev Shabbos, plus you have the Musaf. So Hoyasham, and plus you're doing Nisach Hamayim. So you're going to add another 12 extra. So Hoyasham Abanu Shmoina, you have 48. So how do you get 48? So very simple. Sholosh l'psichas Hashem. In the morning, right away, they opened up all the doors of the Beis Hamikdash. And you know what I'm talking about when they open up all the Azara doors. You know, all these doors on the side of the Beis Hamikdash are real doors. So they open it up. There's about 7 doors total. So then they made a Tkiya Trua Triya after the opening. That's a typical morning. And then Sholosh l'shar ha'elyoim. When early in the morning, before the carbon tamid, they blew Tekiah, Trua Tekiah, when they were on the top step, when they by Shar Niknor, like right over here, like what we said before, when they were over here at this point, they blew Tekiah, Trua Tekiah. Again, very early in the morning. This is like 4 o'clock in the morning. They're going out to fetch water for the Nisach Hamayim. So they blew 3 by when they went top step, shoulders to Shar Tachrim, and 3 by the bottom door. Again, the bottom door is the eastern door, right over here. When they got out the door, they blew another 3 tekiyas. Okay, shoulders Limiyamayim. 3 when they filled up from water and coming back through the Shar Hamayim. They were coming back into the base of Migdash from the gate, the water gate. V'sholosh al gabe mizbeach. And here another 3, which was on top of the mizbeach, which means when they set up the aravos on the mizbeach, remember there was aravos on the mizbeach, so there was 3. They were 3 on the mizbeach over there. So there they put another extra 3. Now says the Mishnah. Hold on. Okay. So now says the Mishnah. Teisha l'tomid shel shachar. Yeah, 9 for the morning. Tamid. Teisha l'tomid shel ben abayim. 9 for the tamid shel ben abayim. Teisha l'musafim, and 9 for the musaf. So shalish lahavtes on malacha, v'shalish lahavtes ben kodesh l'chayil. So you have a total of 48. Erev Shabbos and Sukkot was the most days that you can have. Stukiyas. So the Gemara says, Masnisen deloy Rabbi Yehuda. Our Mishnah does not follow the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, because how many did we say was on a typical day? 21. How much was the largest day? 48. But Rabbi Yehuda says a lot less. The Tanya we learned in a brayso. Rabbi Yehuda Ima apoiches, the smallest day leyifches misheva. There was only 7 sounds. V'hamoisif, the most days leyisif al sheishesh was in 16. So the Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yehuda. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda divided everything by 3. Like I'm telling you that tekiya, trua, tekiya is counted as 3. According to Rabbi Yehuda, they're counted as 1. And therefore, if we tell you there's 21, according to the Tanakama in our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda holds you don't call that 21, because tekiya, trua, tekiya is counted as 1. So you divide everything by 3. So 21 divided by 3 is 7. When I tell you there's 48 sounds on Erev Shabbos, Shecholias b'Shabbos, so then Erev Shabbos Shebechag, Shecholias Erev Shabbos Shebechag, right? So then there we said it's 48. You divide it by 16, and therefore, what do you get? You get 16. So 48 divided by 3, you get 16. So the Gemara says, "B'mai kami palgi." What is the argument between Rabbi Yehuda and Tanakama? Rabbi Yehuda sava tekiya trua tekiya achasi. Rabbi Yehuda holds that tekiya trua tekiya is 1, and therefore it's counted as 1. Rabbanan savre tekiya lechud tri lechud. You count tekiya as 1 and trua lechud. Each tekiya is counted as 1, and trua is counted as another mitzvah. So it depends. According to Rabbanan, you did 21 mitzvahs. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's considered 7 mitzvahs. My time with Rabbi Yehuda. What's the reason Rabbi Yehuda? Amakara, the pasuk said uskatem trua. That trua is called a tekiya. So it's really one and the same. So tekiya and trua is the same thing. Rabbanan, what did they do with that uskatem trua? It's not like telling you that trua is tekiya. What the Rabbanan learned from that uskatem teaches you that when you blow the trua, make sure you blow a tekiya first. It's to tell you that before you blow a tekiya, you should have before you blow a trua, you should have a tekiya in front of it, and when you finish blowing a trua, you should have a trua after it, like it says trua yiskeu, like we're going to see another pasuk. So therefore, the Rabbanan hold that tekiya is counted as 1, trua is counted as 2, tekiya is counted as 3. That's what. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's all counted as 1 mitzvah. Tekiya, trua, tekiya. So the Gemara asks a question: Rabbanan mai tamai. What is the reason, Rabbanan, that you count a tekiya as a separate mitzvah? Where do you see that just blowing a tekiya alone is a separate mitzvah? So the Gemara answers the ksiv. It says in the pasuk, we do find a place in the Torah where you only blow a tekiya and did not blow a trua. So it must be tekiya alone is a mitzvah, because the pasuk says uvahakil es hakol. Hashem says when you gather all the people, tiskeu v'loy tariu. You should blow a tekiya and not a trua. So that's how Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, when you want to gather everybody, blow a tekiya and not a trua. If you want to say a tekiya and trua is 1 mitzvah, how could HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell Moshe Rabbeinu just blow a tekiya if you want to call the entire congregation for a meeting? Amar Rachmana palga mitzvah de ovid upalga loy ovid. The Torah is going to tell you do a half a mitzvah of blowing a tekiya and not do the other half of blowing the trua. It must be that tekiya alone is a mitzvah and trua alone is a mitzvah, and that's why the Torah tells Moshe Rabbeinu you could blow a tekiya when you're gathering the people. So that is a clear proof in the Torah that tekiah alone could be a mitzvah. Rabbi Huda says, Hahu l'simona ba'almo huda ase. That's really just a signpost that people are supposed to get together. But that's not really the mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah to do that. V'rabbanan simonahu, it is a simon. V'rachmana shavil mitzvah. It's a simon to gather people together. But the Torah made it a mitzvah because if Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to gather the people, he could not do it any other way. He could not, put up signs. Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, the only way you want to call a meeting with Klal Yisrael, that they should come to a certain place, blow a tekiah without a trua. So it must be that blowing a tekiah alone is considered to be a mitzvah by itself. So basically, this is just number games. Basically, our Mishnah says there's 21. According to Rabbi Yehuda, don't call that 21, call it 7, because each tekiah, trua tekiah, is considered to be one mitzvah. Come on, also, who would this statement go like? Hodam Rav Kahana said, Ein bein tekiah l'trua v'lo klim. When you blow a tekiah and then you're blowing a trua, don't, just take a breath, but don't separate them. Come on, Rav Kahana must be talking about that he's with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, because according to Rabbanan, tekiah is one mitzvah, trua is another mitzvah. So why can't I take a 5-minute break between blowing a tekiah and blowing a trua? It must be Rav Kahana was going with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. So the Gemara says, Pshita, that's simple. Of course he's going with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, because he's telling you to blow the tekiah and trua together at the same time. So now we go to Nun Gimel Amud Aleph, Nun Daled Amud Aleph. Man the Mayo the same. I would have thought Afila Rabbanan that he was going even according to Rabbanan. That even according to Rabbanan, that it's separate mitzvahs, but what Rab Kahana was saying, don't take too much of a break. You can take a 5-minute break, but don't take an hour break. And he was arguing what Rabbi Yochanan said. We know on, let's say, Rosh Hashanah, typically in Min HaTorah, you're supposed to hear, let's say, 9 blows, right? 9 blows. Tekiah, trua, tekiah, tekiah, trua, tekiah, tekiah, trua, tekiah. That's Min HaTorah. We hear 100. But if you heard to Omar, Rabbi Yochanan said, Shama Teisha Tekiyas B'Teisha Shois B'Yom. You heard 9 sounds during the 9 hours of the day. Each hour you heard another sound of the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. Yotza, you fulfilled your obligation. Even you didn't put them all together. So Kamash. So I would have thought that Rav Kahana, what Rav Kahana really was teaching you a new halacha according to Rabbanan. Even according to Rabbanan, tekiah and trua are 2 separate mitzvahs. Fine, I give you that. But can you take an hour break between the tekiah and the trua, like Rabbi Yochanan said? Comes along Rav Kahana and says not so. So I might have thought that's what Rav Kahana is trying to say. Kamash Malam, that's why I need someone to tell me that Rav Kahana was not talking about Rabbanan. He was just going with the opinion Rabbi Yehuda, take no break between the tekiah and the trua. So the Gemara asks, Veim hachanami. Maybe he is indeed aligning himself. Rav Kahana is aligning himself with the Rabbanim. How do you know he's talking? He's talking only in the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. And Cain, because if so, my veloy klum. What did he mean to say? Don't take any break at all. You see, you go back to the words of Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana said that ein bain, you should not take any break between the tekiah and the trua. Loy klum, just like a breath. So it must be that he was with the opinion Rabbi Yehuda, since they're counted as one mitzvah, you should have no interruption between the tekiah and the trua. He was not explaining the Rabbanan. He was only going in the opinion Rabbi Yehuda. The Mishnah continued, Erev Shabbos B'Soich HaKag. Remember, Friday afternoon, in the middle of Sukkot, how many did you have? You had what? You had 48 blows. Now, the Mishnah said there was 3 blows when you hung the aravos onto the mizbeach. The be'ilu lamala asiris loikatoni. Unlike the previous Mishnah, the one a couple of pages back, which says that they blew by the 10th step. You see, when they got to the 10th step, okay, when they got down 10 steps, they blew by the door. And then the Mishnah says previously that when they got to about the 10th step, they went down 5 and the 10 off the ground, they blew again. And then they blew by Shara Mizrach. Our Mishnah doesn't say that. Our Mishnah just says that when they got back, they blew. And then when they hung Ravis around the Mizbeach, they blew another 3. Our Mishnah, this Mishnah that we just read today, disagrees with a previous Mishnah. So Masnis and Mani, who does our Mishnah go like? Rab Lezer ben Yaakov. It goes according to the opinion of Rab Lezer ben Yaakov. The Tanya we learned in the Brisa, Sholosh Lamala Asiris. They blew 3 sounds when they got to the 10th step. Rab Lezer ben Yaakov Sholosh al Gabe Mizbeach. They did not blow by the 10th steps, but they blew 3 when they aligned a ravos, big hashanas all around the Mizbeach. Ha'oima Lamala Asiris Eina Ima Gal Mizbeach. The Tanakama who said, the first Tana who said that they blew by the 10th step, he would not agree to Rab Lezer ben Yaakov that they blew when they aligned a ravos around the Mizbeach. For ha'oima agaba Mizbeach, those that said that when they blew the shofar, they blew the chatzaitzros by when they aligned a ravos around the Mizbeach. Eina oima lamal asiris. He said that they would not blow by the 10th step. Basically, what the Gemara just said is that everybody agrees that there were 48 blows. The maximum day that they blew, maximum sounds that they blew were 48 sounds. The question is, did you blow 3 sounds by the 10th step? Or did you blow an extra 3 sounds when you lined the ravos around the Mizbeach? But you didn't do both. So everybody holds that the magic number was 48. Now, my time with Rab Lezer ben Yaakov. Why did Rab Lezer ben Yaakov say they blew when they put a ravos on the Mizbeach, around the Mizbeach, to make it a nice number of 48? So Gemara says, if you're blowing already when they open the Shara Nikner door, why do you have to blow when you get to this 10th step? It doesn't make too much sense. You're blowing when you open this door. When you go out this door, you blow. So that's a nice place to blow. So that makes sense. High lav sharhud. The 10th step is not a door opening. Hilkach al gab mizbeach adav. It's better to blow when they put a ravos around the mizbeach. Rabbanan Savre, Rabbanan hold cave in the Tokal and Milu Hamayim, since they're blowing for when they filled up the water. The Rabbanan hold that what are you blowing? The whole point of this whole extra blowing was to celebrate or to make publicize that we're going to draw water for the Nisach Hamayim. So everything that you do blow has to relate back to the Nisach Hamayim, the filling up of the water and the pouring the water on the Mizbeach. Putting up a ravos all around the Mizbeach has nothing to do with the Nisach Hamayim, with the pouring of the water. So therefore, they'd rather blow on the 10th step and not setting things up on the Mizbeach. So that was the machlokes. Our Mishnah that said they sholosh al gabe hamizbeach, that they blew 3 when they put something around the Mizbeach, our Mishnah aligns itself with the opinion of Rab Lezer ben Yaakov. Now, the Gemara continues and says, Ki asa Rav Acha b'Chanina midroima, Aise masnisim biyade. When Rav Acha b'Chanina came back to Bavel, and he came from the south, I guess the south of Israel, from Yerushalayim, maybe. Aise masnisim bidei. He actually had a brisa that he brought back in his hand. What that means is he brought back, he learned something in Eretz Yisrael, and he said it over. It says in the Brisa, as I told you, it's written in the Chumash that you got to blow trumpets when you bring karbonos, carbon tzibor, you have to blow trumpets. Now, the pasuk says that the kahanim would blow with the trumpets. She'ein Talmud loyme isku. I don't need this pasuk. It's an extra pasuk that the kahanim would blow with these trumpets. Shekvar nema, because there's another pasuk that says uskatem b'chatzoitzros. You should blow with trumpets. Al oilaseichem bal zivchei shalmeichem. When you're doing karbonos tzibor, right, the communal offerings, then you blow with the trumpets. So why does it repeat itself that they blow again? So ma Talmud loyme yisku. Rav Acha is teaching you that suppose you have 2 musafs in a day. Every musaf you add 9. As I told you on Shabbos, they added 9 for blowing for the Shabbos musaf. What happens if you have Shabbos Rosh Chodesh? So then you added 18, 9 for Shabbos and another 9 for the Rosh Chodesh musaf, right? So depending how many musafs you had, that's how many you added on. So let's take, for example, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. You had 21 blows what you did on a typical day. And at Shabbos, you add another 9, so it's 30, plus another 9 for Rosh Chodesh, so you'll have 39 on Rosh Chodesh. So, who Tanulav, who Amala, he explained this. Shatoikin al kol musaf u musaf. Every musaf, you blow another 9. Now the Gemara challenges everything. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. Erev Shabbos Shag. We said Friday, in the middle of Sukkot, Hayasham Memches. There was 48. Vim Isa. If your concept is true that if you have extra musaf, you add extra. I have a way that you'll have 51 blows. Why? Listen, let it teach you. Shabbos Chag. Shabbos Chalamoid, right in the middle of Sukkot. Mishkachas leich chamshin b'chad. You'll have 51. Well, you can see that because Erev Shabbos, what makes Erev Shabbos have 48 is because on Erev Shabbos, you added an extra 6, right? 6 on Erev Shabbos to, remember, 6 to tell people to close their stores and 6 to tell people Shabbos started. So, okay, you're going to add 6 because it's Erev Shabbos. But if it's Shabbos in the middle of Sukkot, you should have an extra 9 because now you're going to have an extra musaf of Shabbos. You'll have the musaf of Sukkot plus the musaf of Shabbos. So if you take away 6, but you're going to add 9, so basically when you had Erev Shabbos, it was 48. But now that you have Shabbos in the middle of Sukkot, so it's actually, you take away 6, but you're adding 9, so it's the total should be 51. So why does the Mishnah say the maximum day would be Erev Shabbos in the middle of Sukkot? If Shabbos in the middle of Sukkot, you should have 51. Amar Rab Zera said, you never blew the 3 opening. You actually don't have that. First of all, you have to subtract another 3 on Shabbos. Why? Rab Zera said, remember, right when they opened up all the doors in the Beis HaMikdash, we said on a typical day they blew 3. But on Shabbos, they didn't blow. Because opening the doors is not like blowing by the karbonos. It's really a drabanan thing. So the Rabbanan said, don't blow on Shabbos when you open the doors of the Beis HaMikdash, because it's not written in the Torah that you blow when you open the doors of the Beis HaMikdash. So there's a halacha, of course, in Shabbos that you don't blow instruments in Shabbos. So therefore, you subtract another 3. So if you subtract another 3, Shabbos, in the middle of Sukkot, you also have 48. So it's no different than a regular Erev Shabbos. Amar Rava just challenges the whole thing, makes no sense. A person who taught this teaching and gave this answer is somebody that's not careful. He doesn't really think over what he's saying. And that's an expression. He does not concerned of making fine flour. In other words, he's not thinking before he talks. First of all, the Mishnah said every day there was 21. Even Shabbos, when they blew 21. They even blew when they opened the door. You can't tell me that on Shabbos they did not, when they opened the doors of the Beis HaMikdash, they didn't blow. The Mishnah says they blew even on Shabbos every single day. Void even if you want to say that Shabbos in Sukkot and Erev Shabbos in Sukkot both are equal, 48. Let it say Shabbos Let the Mishnah say that the Shabbos in the middle of Sukkot you have 48. The Shamet Minei Tarte. By saying that, you have 2 Chedushim over here. Shamet Minei, you could learn the Reb Lezer ben Yaakov. You learn that we hold like Reb Lezer ben Yaakov that you blow when you put Hashanas, when you put Aravis on the Mizbeach. That our Mishnah goes according to Reb Lezer ben Yaakov. V'Shamet Minei, the Reb Acha Bachanina. And it teaches you another teaching that when there's an extra musaf, like Shabbos, in the middle of Sukkot, you add another 9 tekiyas for every musaf. The Chag gets 9, and the Shabbos gets a 9. So you can hear 2 ideas from that statement. Erev Shabbos doesn't teach you anything because Erev Shabbos, I know you blow 6 on Erev Shabbos. It's just adding numbers, but there's no chiddush of that. But by teaching you Shabbos Lifnei Hachab, that if you catch that number on Shabbos Lifnei Chag, if indeed you blew 48, that would be the better choice example of a maximum number that you could use as an example of what they blew at the most, 48. Used Shabbos that falls out on Sukkot. But Rava gives the simple teretz, and this is the very important teretz. If you think about it, you should have answered this yourself. What brings it up to 48 on Sukkot is because they would fill the water up and they would go to the Mei Shaluach and go to that spring water, right? They would leave the Beis HaMikdash and go outside and fill up with water. Shabbos, they didn't do that because Shabbos you can't carry. They would only bring in Erev Shabbos. So there was no blowing on Shabbos. You're subtracting out 12 because there's no blowing, because there is no filling up with the water on Shabbos. So the Batzrei Tuva, you're missing a lot. On a Shabbos, you're missing 12. So you're 48 minus 12 is 36. So and then you minus another 6 because it's if it's not Erev Shabbos. So a Shabbos in middle of Sukkot, actually you blew 39, 21 from all days, and then 9 for the Shabbos Musaf and 9 for the Sukkot Musaf. But you don't add an extra 12 because you're not filling up water on. You're not going out to fill up the water on Shabbos. So that's not a good number. Okay, so where we're holding over here at the bottom of the page, the Gemara, you just told me that the maximum number is what? 48. And there's no other example of that except Erev Shabbos in middle of Sukkot. Friday in Sukkot time, then you had 48. So the Gemara says, I'll give you an example that you have 48 then another day. Listen to Nami, Rosh Hashanah Shecholias b'Shabbos. Rosh Hashanah that fell out in Shabbos. The Ha'ikit Tlosim Musafim. You have 3 Musafs. Musaf to Rosh Hashanah, Musaf to Rosh Chodesh, Musaf to Shabbos. When Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, you have 21 from all the days, right? 21, it's a typical day. Then you add another 9 because it's Rosh Hashanah, another 9 because it's Rosh Chodesh, and another 9 because it's Shabbos. Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos. So you add 27. 27 plus 21, boom, you have 48. So why do you say that, why do you teach me that's the only day that they had 48 is Erev Shabbos B'Soich HaChag? So the Gemara answers, Erev Shabbos B'Soich HaChag, Itzrich Leila Shmina K'Rab Lezer ben Yaakov. It wants to talk to you. The Mishnah, yes, could have found another example where you blew 48, but it picked Erev Shabbos in the middle of Sukkot to teach you when they blow, and they blew it like Rab Lezer ben Yaakov's opinion is that they blew it by the Mizbeach and not by the 10th step. So that's why it picked one example. Yes, it could have picked another example of Rosh Hashanah that fell out in Shabbos. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? Mishnah is short of ink. List down the days that they had 48. My question was, you should say one and not the other. List nahav or list naha. Let it say both examples. Erev Shabbos in the middle of Sukkot, and let it say the example of Rosh Hashanah that fell out on Shabbos. So now the Gemara says Tana v'shiyar. Now Mishnah left it out. Yes, he could have used it as an example of another day that has 48 blows, but he didn't want to use that example because the Mishnah just gave one example. So the Gemara says, "My shayda hayshaya." What other example did it leave out? So it left out this example. It means if there was only 2 days that had 48 blows, right, then you should list them those 2 days. You should tell me which day it is. But if you say there are a couple of days of the year that they blow 48 blows in the Torah, and the Mishnah doesn't want to list you all of days, so fine. Then you could give me one example, and you don't have to tell me all the examples. So Gemara's question is, if you left out Rosh Hashanah, that means you must have left out another day that also has 48 blows. So the Gemara says, Shi'ir Erev Pesach. On Erev Pesach, they also had 48 blows. How do you get on Erev Pesach 48 blows? So let's turn the page. Because on the Erev Pesach, they had 27 blows. Imagine Erev Pesach falling on a Friday. We learned in Masechta Pesachim that they blew. There were 3 groups that went into the Azara to shech their carbon Pesach. They would crowd as many people into the Azara, and they all these groups shechted the carbon Pesach. Each group read the Hallel 3 times, and every time they read the Hallel, they read it, they blew 3 blows, Tkiya, Trua, Tkiya. And then they finished one group, then they brought in the second group. That second group read the Hallel while they were shechting the carbon Pesach 3 times. They finished, so that's another 9. So basically on an Erev Pesach, the Erev Pesach, they had 27. So let's say you had 27 on a regular Erev Pesach plus the 21 normal. So that's 48. It's the Erev Pesach and 48. So now you have 48, 27 plus it's a normal day anyway, so it's 21. So the Gemara says, if that's your example, lav shiur, that's not a good example. Why? The Hamani Rabbi Yehuda. You could say that Rabbi Yehuda, that our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar mimeim shel katz lishis lo yagia lo mahafti yishma Hashem b'nei shahoya ima mu'atem. Rabbi Yehuda holds that there was not many people that showed up to do a carbon Pesach during the time of the temple. You see, it wasn't so easy to get there. So they only had, let's say, 2 groups. And then by the third group, there was such little peoples bringing a carbon Pesach that they only said Hallel once. So basically, Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is on an Erev Pesach, in a typical Erev Pesach during the second temple, they only said Hallel 2 times. They only said Hallel. They said Hallel 7 times. 7 times 3 is 21. 3 for each group, and by the last group they only said it once because there was not too many people there. So 21 plus 21, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there was 42. So that's not a good example to use as another example of 48. For the Gemara says, what do you mean? How could you say our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yehuda? Maybe you just told me that our Mishnah does not go like Rabbi Yehuda. Like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda always counts things as 7. And he counts Tkiya, Trua, as 1, not as 3. So our Mishnah cannot be Rabbi Yehuda. You just told me it's not Rabbi Yehuda. So maybe, so the Gemara says no. He holds like Rabbi Yehuda that on a typical Erev Pesach, they only blew 21 blows. And he argues that he argues with Rabbi Yehuda, who always counts 3 as 1. So basically, our Mishnah could be an opinion that holds somewhat like Rabbi Yehuda, that there, on a typical Erev Pesach, there were only 21 blows and 21 extra blows from a typical day. So you had 42. So that wouldn't be a good example of another possibility of 48. So the Gemara gets back to the original question. Elamai shi'ur, the high shi'ur. Why did the Mishnah leave out Rosh Hashanah? What else did it leave out? In other words, you told me in the Mishnah that there's one possibility to have 48 blows. I just told you another possibility to have 48 blows, which means when Rosh Hashanah comes out on Shabbos, then you have 48 blows as well. So, and if you left out Rosh Hashanah, you must have a third example that was not used in the Mishnah. What's that example? So the Gemara says, Shir er Pesach cholias ber Shabbos apik shis v'oil shis. You take out 6 and you put in 6. In other words, an Erev Pesach that falls out on Erev Shabbos, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, which is you get only an extra 21 for Erev Pesach, you also get an extra 6 for being Erev Shabbos. As we said, on a typical Erev Shabbos, they had 6 extra blows. So again, an Erev Pesach that falls out on Erev Shabbos, you actually had 48. Why? 21 from a typical day. Erev Pesach, according to Rabbi Yehuda, even if you say according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's 21, so you have 42, plus it's Erev Shabbos, so you have another 6. So you have 48. 42 plus 6 is 8. So therefore, there's another example of a 48 number that the Mishnah did not mention. So the Mishnah just talked to you about Sukkot, you had 48, but the Mishnah agrees that there are other days you have 48. Not easy Gemara, but let's just do one more line and then we'll stop. So the Gemara says like this: Ve'ein mosifin al memches. Impossible to have more than 48. So the Gemara asked, the law, it's impossible to have more than 48 blows. Think about Erev Pesach that falls out on Shabbos, right? On a typical Shabbos, you have how many? 30. On Erev Pesach, which is, if Erev Pesach falls out on Shabbos, which you would bring your carbon Pesach on Shabbos, right? You have an extra 21 or 27 blows. So you have 30 plus 21. You'll have 51 blows. You'll have 57 blows. So the Gemara says, finally, the answer is, Kikitani, a new answer is, Midi the Isa b'chol shana. If is a possibility of this day to happen on a typical year, then the Mishnah would list it. Erev Pesach shecholias b'Shabbos, the Leisa b'chol shana v'shana, Laikatani. Erev Pesach that falls out on Shabbos, that's not every year. That's once in every 5 years Erev Pesach falls out on Shabbos. I think it was this year. So there, our Mishnah doesn't use that as an example. Yes, there are other examples of more than 48, but that comes out once in every 5 years. And the typical year, the maximum you will have is a 48. So the Gemara says, one last question. Atu er Shabbos b'soichech hag mi isa b'chol shana. Zimnin deloy mishkachas la. Erev Shabbos in middle of Sukkot, does that happen every single year? It's possible to not have a Friday in middle of Sukkot. The Heichadami, how could you not have a Friday in middle of Sukkot? Let's say the first day of Sukkot falls out on Erev Shabbos, right? The first day of Sukkot falls out on Friday. So during that Friday, they wouldn't blow. They wouldn't blow for filling up the waters. Remember, they wouldn't be Mechal Shabbos or Yom Tov for the filling up the waters. They would bring it from before. So there was no, that Friday doesn't count. And the next Friday is already Shmini Atzeres. So you never really had a Chalamoid of Friday. So therefore, there's a possibility to have years where you will not have a Friday Chalamoid in the middle of Sukkot. Answers the Gemara, and we'll end off with here. Ki maklina Yom Tov Rishon Be'er Shabbos, when Sukkot, the first day of Sukkot falls out on a Friday, the Bezdin never allows that to happen. Matchei Dachinale, the Bezdin will figure out how to make Elul a larger month in order that we don't want first day of Sukkot to be on a Friday. Why not? My timer, even the Ikli Yom Tov Rishon Shechag Lias Be'er Shabbos, if the first day of Sukkot falls out on a Friday, Yom Kippurim Amos Shabbos. When would Yom Kippur be? The Chad b'Shabbos. Yom Kippur will be 5 days before. So which means Yom Kippur will be on a Sunday. And we never, Hiltach Techinale. This is where we'll stop. We never want, this is an important rule, Yom Kippur to fall out on Sunday. Why don't we want Yom Kippur to fall out on Sunday? So there are two reasons. One reason is that if somebody dies on a Friday night, and if Yom Kippur falls out on a Sunday, you're not going to bury him for 2 days, and that's not covered in mace. The other reason is that if a person has food, and if you couldn't work for 2 days straight, then it would spoil. So we never want Yom Kippur to fall out. That's called Yom Kippur to fall out on Sunday. So therefore, when Yom Tov, the first day of Sukkot, would fall out on Friday, Bezdin will make sure it never happens. And if the first day of Sukkot never falls out on Friday, you will always have Erev Shabbos in the middle of Sukkot. So Erev Shabbos in the middle of Sukkot, Chalamoid Sukkot, always happens. That's why the Mishnah picked an example of the max of 48 of Erev Shabbos that falls out in the middle of Sukkot, because that happens each and every single year. Okay? That's where we'll stop.
Excuse me, Baruch. Yom Kippur does fall on Sunday sometimes.
Maybe nowadays it did, but in the ancient times when they didn't have refrigerators, they never allowed it. So what they would do is that if an aide says, "Oh, I think I saw the new moon," they would tell him, "Keep quiet. We're not accepting your edus, and we're going to make Elul a bigger Elul, a 30-day Elul. Usually Elul is only 29. We'll make it 30 days so that doesn't happen, because otherwise the covered and mace, the body would decompose."
Yeah, but it touches me very closely, because that's exactly what happened to me. My mom, she passed away on a Friday, and Yom Kippur was Sunday night, and it was a horrible time. And I said people came to the cemetery so I could say Kaddish. They were all dressed up for Yom Tif, and it was raining, it was pouring. And they ended up, with mud up to their knees. But, they're right before going to shul for Paul Nidri. And it was a horrible time. So it's, I understand what you're saying. But
that's what it says. When Sukkot, when Yom Kippur is a Sunday, we try to avoid that. What? Okay, we're going to continue Be'ez Hashem tomorrow with this concept, this conversation of Tanakh, everybody.
Okay, good Tanakh, Baruch.
Tanakh.